understanding that there's no way you can have a successful business or successfully brand yourself or successfully be an entrepreneur without doing the work. You have to do the work to understand who you are, to understand what you are grounded in, and to immediately come up with certain types of standards. Hi everyone, my name is FranaBA. I'm recording this video to talk a little bit about entrepreneurship and my journey of entrepreneurship, which has kind of been going on for about a year now. And so I just want to talk about some lessons learned, some places to get started, and share that with you all. The first thing I want to do is acknowledge that I'm on stolen land. There are over 48 tribes that have kept this land that I have the privilege to be residing on. And so I want to acknowledge those tribes as well. And a couple of those tribes are the Apache, the Arapaho, and the Cheyenne. I also want to take this time to say that Black Lives Matters, including trans lives. So thank you all for listening today. Like I said, I want to talk a little bit about my entrepreneurship journey. So the first time I heard about entrepreneurship was in an extracurricular group in college, and I loved pieces of it, but it was all kind of under a corporate conglomerate that I try my really hardest not to shop at anymore. And so I graduated, and that kind of became something of the past, right? Oops. And so I got the opportunity to dive into financial services, and that kind of throw me into the world of entrepreneurship without much of a guidebook or an idea of what that would look like. And so probably the first 6 months I spent really figuring out, like, what does this mean? And what do I do? And so a couple of the lessons learned within the last year is that part of entrepreneurship is you as a brand, right? Is that the whole idea is that, I know I've been taught this work-life balance, right? Where it's you work this 9 to 5, and then at 5 you get to live your life, but between 9 and 5 you have to live your job's life. And so entrepreneurship is the concept that nope, it never ends. And so every social interaction you have, every email you send, every conversation that you engage in, anything that you post, that all is part of you, and therefore your business, and therefore your brand, and therefore your entrepreneurship journey. And so I see a lot of people kind of get started and scramble around and try and figure out okay, how do I and treat it like a job? How do I make sure that this is something that I do right around these hours and this time, and this is what I'll do, but then I'll still go live a separate life. In entrepreneurship, you don't really do that. And that's one of the challenging parts and one of the best parts about it, right? And so luckily there's a group within my office a group of women that are in my office that I remember a veteran advisor said that there is really no work-life balance. It all kind of becomes one, and that's one of the best parts about it. And me, growing up my mom was a public school teacher, my dad worked for the federal government, and so both of them are very much have that W-2 job mindset where it's yep, you go to work, and then after is your time to live your life, right? That kind of thing. And so there is no separation within entrepreneurship. And that's one of the best parts about it. But when I first got told that, I was like, no, then I'm going to do it differently. That's not how that's going to be. And over the past year or so, I've realized that is the reality. And that is one of the best parts about it. And so understanding that there's no way you can have a successful business or successfully brand yourself or successfully be an entrepreneur without doing the work. You have to do the work to understand who you are, to understand what you are grounded in, and to immediately come up with certain types of standards. I remember again at one of these women's meetings we talked about was if you don't want to hang out with your client, don't take them. Do not step into having a client. I mean, even if there's this great opportunity on the table or a lot of money at stake or, whatever, if you don't want to hang out with that client is not a good fit for you. And so they will make life a lot harder, and they will make you question everything about your existence and your brand and your business and your journey. And there's nothing that's worth that. And so figuring out that grounding piece of what are you grounded in? What are things that you will not give on? And what are things that your brand is going to stand for? And those things that your brand stands for have to be things that you stand for. And if you want to stand for something, but you don't live your life that way, that's really not going to work either. You're never going to build that life or that business that you want to build. And so really getting straight with that, figuring those lines out is a great first place to start. So anyone out there who's like thinking about maybe doing entrepreneurship or starting a venture, take some time to really think about, either like journal about it, do a video about it, write a blog about it, talk to your support system about it, about like what are the things that you are grounded in. So a couple of the things for me is that like I'm grounded in accountability. I'm grounded in leadership. I'm grounded in living and leading my life by example. And I'm grounded in being authentic to myself, and always knowing that like every conversation that I have, every video I put out here, everything on my website, everything on my social media, I have to be able to stand by. And if I get corrected because I do something wrong, I also have to be able to be corrected on those things and exercise some humility in those. And so, yeah, so those are just a couple lessons learned, is like figure out what grounds you, what drives you, what your big picture is, uh, and root everything in that. Because therefore, like no matter what you do, no matter who you work with, as long as you can come back to that grounding, then you're on the right path.